Yep.
Thanks, Rika. I'm Jennifer Fine, and I'm the co-founder of YouLive to Travel, and we're the platform that makes group travel easy. So we are a software provider, and we like to think that we make the space for you to get creative about the experiences that you're promoting and organizing for your travelers. And I think in the same way that in our sort of core software business, we make space for you to create things and deliver things to your travelers, and you white label that so that you know it's not about us, it's about you. That's what this is really about. We want to make the space for you to discuss what are you guys currently exploring and doing, and hopefully some ideas get sparked, and hopefully you're inspired to do what you need to do to get through this time period. And one of the things that's really struck me about what's going on right now is that we've been labeled as an industry as non-essential. And I don't know if anybody else has really sort of pondered that, but I understand that maybe right now that is a temporary thing, but I think it's really important that we don't internalize that, because I think travel is incredibly essential. And I think that we deliver some really important things to our customers. And, you know, while that can be purely experiential, that can be really important for people. It can be really essential to their well-being, but also educational and connecting with other human beings. And so I think if we focus on the educational and connection with other humans and sort of empathy that comes from interacting with other humans, I think that's what can kind of drive us to think about, what do we do in the meantime? You know, what can we do that doesn't require us to get on a plane, or doesn't require us to go to a different location, that can still deliver some of that essential experience that travel provides. So that's something that I've been thinking about, and I hope, I know that a lot of people have been struggling to kind of get past the shock of it, and then start to get to a place where they can think about alternatives or in the meantime kind of stuff. So this conversation is really about all of that, and I wanted to give each of you a chance to introduce yourselves, and I'd like you to talk about you know, what your business is and what you're positive about, and whether that's in the short run or that's in the long run, because you think something is going to be made better when we come out the other side of this. And yeah, so if you can share that with the group, we'll go around, and maybe actually let's start with Renee.
Okay, so things positive that I think will come out of this. I think for a long time we've struggled a bit on the, and while it's potentially an obstacle for us when we get started, but because so much of what I do is in the meetings and events industry, you know, we've kind of had this battle of not wanting to go online for a long time because that doesn't bring people together. Well, unfortunately, all of our clients are doing exactly that, as we are today. But I think, you know, the positive that comes out of it is that we will also be able to include attendees that are not in the room with us for our events. You know, it's something that we've struggled with a bit, trying to get that easier to do, trying to make that more readily available, trying to explain to clients and presenters that this is a positive thing. Not everyone can always be in the room with us, but we still want them to be involved with the content. So while it's a bit of a stumbling block, because it also means that some of the events that we once had will not be happening, because now they can just do it online and save some money and not get together. I do think that it will bring us to a better place for those events that we are getting together. We can have some of that international involvement, maybe for those who can't get visas to travel, for example, is a one that comes to mind for me. I've had so many times that attendees that we've been counting on, or even speakers who are coming from another country, and last minute something went wrong with the visa and they weren't able to attend. Now that won't be the end of the world. We don't have to replace them. We'll simply go automated. We'll have them there live with us, even though they can't be in the room. So that's one of the positives that I think is coming out of a lot of the technological things that are happening right now. You also mentioned I should introduce myself. My company is Global Wanderlust. It's a small event and meetings planning company. I also do on-site management for other planners. I'm in the Grapevine, Texas area, which if you don't know where that is, it's right outside of DFW Airport in the Dallas, Texas area. And I've been on the road my entire adult working career in one capacity, another former flight attendant, former hotelier. So like I said, I've done lots of things, but they've all been in the travel realm. And outside of that, I cannot imagine having employment. I just, this is where I belong. So it's the best fit for me.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I completely agree about that positive kind of future looking perspective.
Great.
Yeah, all right. Gina, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. Can you hear me okay? No. So I'm Gina and I'm based in New Zealand, and I've got a little tour company just for women, Wanderlust Solo Women Tours. So Renee, we both like that word. And
I love it.
so I just do small tours and retreats for women just to experience travel. It's not so much workshop-based retreats, but just so they get wherever we go a little bit of taster of the authenticity and the cultural experience of a country. Positives. So this week, probably I had a little bit of a downer this week because in our media there's been like so many layoffs. It's quite depressing. But I did put a little post on my business Facebook page because I was wondering after our last meeting how people are feeling about future travel. So whether people are going to be really anxious and a bit nervous to travel actually overseas, or are they just going to be itching to get out there? And I was really surprised. There was only 2 people that said they were really nervous. The rest were all really, really positive. And then just this week, I had 2 people inquire about when am I doing my next trip and can they put me on the list. So that gave me a real positive lift after, all this doom and gloom. It's like people are still interested. So that was a real positive.
Nice. Amazing. I love that. And I feel like that's actually going to be truer and truer, that people are going to overcome their fear pretty quickly because they're just so eager to get out. All right. Who else do we have on? Ryan, did you want to introduce yourself? Ryan? Okay, maybe not. And then we'll jump into our guest Harold, and we'll let him introduce himself and share his positive perspective.
Yes, well, I'd like to start by saying that we're not the only ones who considered non-essential. We're actually in good company with football players, rugby players, any of those sports guys who are currently sitting at home and yeah, they're not even able to go to training. So we're in good company is all I can say. Yeah, who am I? I'm German. I'm here in Ireland, just outside Dublin, and I'm here since '96. I've been doing everything in tourism you can possibly do in terms of, I started out in 1988 as a travel agent behind the counter with a typewriter and Tipex, and that moved on till CRM and all kinds of things in 2020. I've been a guide, I've worked in hotels, driven a bus, I mean, you name it, I've done it. So I hear what Renee is saying in terms of the meetings industry. I used to be a member of SITE, and we did some events here in Ireland and incentives and other events like that. And then we moved on to being a corporate travel agency. And back in 2015, I decided that there's more to life than the treadmill and the hamster wheel. And I sold part of the company in Germany. I'm German originally, but as I said, I live here in Ireland. And since then, I've been focusing on making a difference and how things can be done in a different way. And I kind of virtually bumped into Jake Haupert from the Transformational Travel Council. And if I'm not mistaken, I was one of the first guys to sign up for the mentorship. And yeah, a positive thing this week, I've had some clients who paid their deposit with our national flag carrier, and they were cancelled the flights. So the law says that they have to get their money back, but they used every excuse in the book for not doing so. And we're talking, yeah, €4,500, roughly speaking. And we helped him along the way. And today he came back saying they processed the refund, and it's actually showing in his credit card statement. So you can see that all online and whatnot. So, yay! Some good news for him. Other than that, business is pretty much come to a rather sudden halt. Nobody is going out of Ireland. Nobody is coming into Ireland. All the various businesses and small groups and individuals that I had booked, I tried to postpone them, but the nature of what I do, it's not always possible, because I have people who would go on a 40th wedding anniversary or a 25th wedding anniversary. And I tried to postpone as much as I could, but it didn't work. So right now, yeah, there's absolutely nothing. I can only look at the event horizon and see what's coming down the lines. And yeah, I'm sure I'm not the only one. So it's deciding to climb up that mountain or to climb down that mountain is a bit the issue at the moment. So we'll take every day as it goes.
For sure. And I think for most businesses in general, but especially in travel, I think it's that decision. Do you just pause and wait? Or do you try to kind of take this time to either try to create virtual experiences, like virtual retreats, I'm finding are starting to be quite popular for people. And really, again, to kind of create that space. And I think it's just, it's sort of recognizing that it's not as ideal, but people are actually monetizing those. It's just that you can't charge the same price. And so the conversation that I've had with people is, since you can't charge as much, do you bother? Do you put the energy in to create these experiences, even though it's, you know, the return isn't quite the same, but there's a significant amount of effort? Or do you just kind of go into pause and wait to come out the other side? So I'm just curious kind of where you're at with that.
Well, pausing is not an option. That is just standing still and doing nothing. You know, you might as well go out and mow the grass or something like that. That is not really an option. The plan that I've come up with is actually focusing on a few things that, yeah, were not really dealt with in the last time because I was too busy, and it's only a small company. At the height of the business, I had 12 team members, and including myself, we're now right down to 3. So it's the responsibility for the others, and you know, showing that there is light at the end of the tunnel, and we will get through this. But one of the things that I thought keeps us going if you don't have inquiries and you can't get back at customers because the phone isn't ringing, there's no inquiries coming in. So one of the things we decided, we declutter. We go through our CRM and we see who's in there. Is there anything we can actually do to make it even better by the time we're out of this scenario? So that is one thing we're currently doing. I have a developer who has combined Zero with our CRM. So there's some things that don't work, others work already. So there's a few things that we're making progress on. And one thing I can say for sure is I have never called and communicated with so many people as of right now, because everybody is at home, and I'm checking in. I'm not there fishing for business. I'm genuinely calling them. I'm making sure, are you okay? Is there anything I can do? Is there anything I can help you with? Not asking, when are you going on holidays? Because it's the last thing on their mind right now. So those are the things that I'm busy doing these days and planning for the future.
And I love that. And I think I like, decluttering your CRM, so once you get through your closet, you can start tackling the CRM, right?
Yes, exactly. You see, I have been kind of in a similar situation. Almost 20 years ago here in Ireland, we had the foot and mouth disease. And at the time, I was heavily involved in the incoming business into Ireland, and everything came to a halt. We had some agricultural groups, we had farmers, visitors, etc. So that was just a no-go. So we literally had to shut down that side of the operation, and as tragic as that was, that actually sparked, another thing, in the sense that one door closed and another door opened, and we evolved into working with a completely different set of people, and we kind of mutated back then to a corporate travel agency, which is something that I never thought of doing, but when you are presented with the opportunity, needs must, as they say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I guess that's one of the things that I think, as we kind of get over the shock and we start rethinking, and we start having those conversations and reaching out to people, and what is that opportunity? What can we dream of doing that we would never have thought of doing prior to this? And I think, Renee, you were sort of saying, like, it's going to change the way that you run actual events in the future. And right. And so, I think that, do you think that changes your business right now? Or do you think that's just, how far in the future? Like, do you see that as something you're working on right now, or something that's just sort of a major trend in the future?
I see it as something we just have to prepare for right from the go, because while people are excited about getting back to travel, there are some who just won't do it as much. They'll say they're excited about it. They'll get those first couple of trips out of their system. But, we're also reevaluating on a personal level. I think a lot of people are, while we're going a bit stir crazy, we're also enjoying some of the time at home. And I think people that traveled a lot may reevaluate that. They may say, I'm going to limit my number of trips for next year. Their budget may require it. Their business may require it. I mean, people have been out of the office for a long time. They may need some time back in the office before they get back out traveling. So I think to have successful events from the get-go, we've got to assume that we are almost always, from this point forward, going to have some kind of attendance that can't be sitting in the room, and we don't want to exclude them. You may lose the opportunity to have a really great speaker or a great presenter or a great panelist, all because you didn't prepare to have the equipment. The equipment's not a big deal. We all have it. It's just a matter of having it set up and ready. We're using screens, we're using projectors, we're using phones and microphones and, all of the devices. It's just a matter of coordinating them and having it on standby ready and preparing that presenter or speaker, panelist, and then, even just the webinar, the attendee capability to have that interaction. The tools are there. We've just not always used them because we haven't always needed them. And I think moving forward, we should be prepared for that.
Yeah, and I think that, similar to what Harold was saying about sort of cleaning up the CRM, and I think some people are kind of taking stock of what they have, and then there's also the sort of acquiring new tools, right? So bringing that in, and I think some people are kind of, that we've spoken to, are trying to figure out how to merge that sort of online, offline experience right now. And so some of the conversations that I've been having with people starts with the kind of concept of a virtual wine tour, because it's the easiest thing to wrap your head around, where you book in advance and they ship you a product. So they ship you the wine that you're going to be tasting. And then instead of it being like a weekend, it's actually like every Thursday for a month. You know, you kind of check in and join this experience, and you get a physical product and then you get the virtual product delivered. You know, and so it's about kind of connecting those two worlds. So I'm curious if you guys have thought about that or successfully done anything like that.
You know, we haven't in my business. So much of it is about the experience for us that, you know, to have that experience remotely just hasn't really been a niche that we've dived into yet.
Mm-hmm.
I think from a meeting perspective, it's going to be crucial. I think one of the great things about this time right now is because people are being forced to use these tools that have been out for a while, but we weren't all familiar with, the tools are improving. I mean, look at all the talk about Zoom and their security needs right now. And all of these various other, you know, Google Duo and FaceTime. I mean, I've had presenters on FaceTime before, not something that sounds like the right tool to be using for a business meeting, but we've certainly used it before when we weren't prepared and we had to be spontaneous. So I think the fact that these tools are getting better and more accessible and lower priced and more flexible, you know, you can use all kinds of devices now, where it used to be you had to have the Polycom and you had to have, you know, certain types of connections for your audiovisual to be able to do this stuff. It's getting much more streamlined now, and I think it's going to make our lives easier in that respect, allowing us to then get creative with it, because the technology isn't the challenge now. It becomes the creativity is the challenge, which is a much more pleasurable challenge, I think.
Yeah, for sure. And so for these kinds of virtual experiences, those are real time though, right? So it's like this, where you're interactive. Has anybody been exploring kind of pre-recorded? Like, would you ever deliver something that's just kind of a set of videos or anything like that?
I just wanted to jump in here. Hi, I'm Sarah for everyone. I don't know anyone. I'm a YouTuber and I have a tour company in New York. And one of the things I tried that worked was I did a virtual tour on YouTube. And one of the cool things that I discovered during this was that people will actually tip you in live time. And so all the money I lost because people weren't going on the real tours, I made up in tips. So instead of my tour, normally I only allow 10 people. I had 250 people watching all at once, and people were tipping different amounts or sending PayPal tips too. So this worked really well for me. And on your note of like pre-recorded, I have thought about like, how can I do that? But I think one of the great things about like the live experience is that you can actually answer questions from viewers in real time, and they can just literally pay you like as you go. And I've noticed that the more people that see the payment come through, like you shout them out, and then more people will start paying.
Yeah.
And so it works really well.
And so you find, is YouTube the best platform for that?
Well, I have a large subscriber base, and I actually grew my entire tour company from this. So I have 100,000 subscribers, and my whole channel is all about like things to do in New York City. And so people started watching it, and then they would binge watch the entire series, and then they only wanted me as a tour guide, which is great because I'm able to charge like premium prices for things because they only want like my tours. So for me, it works just because I have like such a large subscriber base. But I think that this method is very effective for several reasons. Number one, you will make money no matter what because of ad revenue on YouTube. So you get money anytime someone watches the video. So if you think about that in a way, it's like kind of like a virtual tour in some ways.
Yeah.
So you can pre-record it. Now that's not going to be the big money maker. The real tours will be the big money maker, but it is an amazing marketing tool. And for those people that can't actually go to the destination, they will binge watch the content and watch the pre-recorded tours.
Yeah.
But the live tours is where you get the donations in real life. And then when I did the live I guess it was 4 weeks ago now, before we're all trapped inside, I got $500 in tips.
Wow.
So it's a method that works.
and that's really interesting. That so now though, you can't go outside at all. Is that right? So you can't even run those virtual ones. And so that's actually,
Well, it's not, you know what it is? It's not that I can't necessarily go outside. It's that the hate you get from people seeing that you're outside is not worth going outside.
right.
So, yes. So that's more the issue. Now, that could be changed if it's a pre-recorded situation, right? And you can say that you recorded it not during this time.
Right.
But you have to, you know what I mean? So.
Yeah. And so what's interesting to your point about whether real money is still the real tours, right? And so the work that you're doing during this time, and presumably restrictions will lift in your city or in your states, countries before kind of international starts. And one of the conversations that we've had a lot is that people expect local will come back first. And so you'll be able to go back outside. And, you know, to your point, then this becomes a marketing opportunity. And then these are sort of pre-trip like teasers, right? This is sort of just getting, you're monetizing it a little bit, but really it's you think of it as marketing for the actual tours.
Exactly. And here's what happened when I did the live tour where I made the $500. People for live videos, they tend to not watch the entire live video. They'll come in for a piece of it and they'll be like, oh, I like this. And then maybe they'll do something else. But what it ends up doing is you end up giving them a sneak peek regardless of how long they watch. I ended up selling, and this was in the peak of like the corona, well, we're still in it, let's be real. But like this was during when people weren't even sure if they were traveling. And I think I sold over $1,000 in ticket sales just from doing that live video because people liked what they saw. And so they booked for future tour dates. And so even though they didn't know when they could come, they bought for a gift card for future tours.
But isn't there a fear of sort of feeling like you're kind of giving away the secret and that they'll be like, oh,
so yes,
and so why am I
totally get your point. Totally get it. I also had that fear. So what I did was I left it up for 48 hours and then I removed it from the internet. Yeah.
Okay.
And now you have, the one thing I will warn you is it's possible to like people to download that using like different platforms. But in the end, what you get is the best marketing possible because people know exactly what they're purchasing now because they're not going to watch the whole thing. So they like your tour, they like your style, and they're like, this will be so much cooler in real life because everyone knows that it's going to be better in real life.
Yeah. That's really interesting. And I guess you're sort of taking normally it's a disadvantage that people don't watch the whole thing and you're turning it into an advantage. Right? Yeah,
because no one really, like a live tour it's just not the same. I mean, let's be real with ourselves, you know?
That's kind of the thing that I'm wondering, like on one hand, I agree with Renee that I think there's going to be like all these virtual tools are going to get so much better. But I also just feel like fundamentally, and especially for certain experiences, like we have a client who does choral tours to the US and around the world, and you cannot sing together on a virtual platform.
It's really hard.
And that's just, it's actually a physics problem. Like the sound doesn't travel fast enough, the lag between the systems, so you're always out of sync. And I think that's actually, when we talk about like what's not great about these experiences, these virtual ones, is you're always just a little bit out of sync, right? Because of that lag. And when you're having a one-to-one conversation, you kind of compensate, but the group, it's very hard to have that sort of group experience in a virtual environment. And I think the tools will get better.
I do too, yeah.
But in a way, I almost think it's almost like they'll never quite get there, and will always really long to kind of get back out into that real experience. So I think you're right that it's just giving them a taste so that they want the full experience.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a marketing tool. That's how I look at it. Until it gets like where people are literally like virtual reality life, like it's right now it's a marketing tool.
Well, then Harold, that'll be your son making the games, right? That's you know, because I think that's a lot of people already live in those virtual worlds where they, you know, take on an avatar and, you know, they interact with people completely virtually. But it's a completely different mindset, and I think it's quite immersive, but it's still not quite the same.
It's not. No.
So Sarah, sorry, I didn't catch the name of your company.
So it's literally Sarah Funky NYC Tours. So it's a very different, like I took a very different path than any other tour company, just because I wasn't planning on running a tour company.
Mm-hmm.
I just was a YouTuber making videos about traveling to New York, and then it turned into one. So the way you buy tickets is through my blog, and yeah. So it's, yeah, the name is weird because like it wasn't meant to be a tour company.
That's perfect though.
Your
name
so we
lends
run
itself
like,
well.
yeah, we run like 3 to 4 tours a week normally. I have like some different walking tours, food tours, and then I do private tours with photography because people are so like into Instagram right now. So that's like one of the services that I offer too, is private tours with photography.
Mm.
Yeah.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone else in the group, sort of having heard Sarah's success there, does that inspire you to try some of these things maybe when some of the local restrictions are lifted? Would you go out and create those kind of live tours?
I might.
Oops, sorry. Go ahead, Emma.
Oh no, sorry, Priscilla, you go for it.
Oh, well, I am inspired. I'm glad I actually wrote your name down, Sarah Funky, New York City Tours.
Thank you. Sorry, I was on mute. Thank you. I appreciate it.
I'm a travel agent and I'm in Charleston, and I haven't been in for like many, many years, maybe about 3. And I actually still work full time. So I was planning to retire before this happened.
I know it's not ideal.
But it's okay. Thank God I still got my job. So I'm changing my niche around. My company is Priscilla Travel LLC. So I'm like niching down to more. I'm figuring this is actually helping me because it's hard when you're a travel agent breaking out into the industry and you're behind everybody else, because you know a lot of those other seasoned travel agents and agencies, the bigger agencies, basically have those relationships with the vendors. And you know, especially like for Essence, I was trying to do Essence. I decided not to do it. Thank God I didn't do it because it's a nightmare now because it got canceled. You know, the commissions and, you know, the concessions for where you've maybe done Essence, the Essence Festival with a hotel for 10 years, they may give you a break on when to have that money in, you know. So those are some of the things that you want to, I was behind the curve on. But with this, it's like reset the clock. So like everybody's at the same level right now. And it's helping me, you know, being on like these type of calls and things, because I have a technical background, right? Like software development and like IT stuff. So it was, I tried to like bridge the two. And now I see the benefit of doing it, you know, because I can never get away from my tools. I'm always going down a rabbit hole trying to find a new tool, or trying to learn a new tool. But now I'm thinking, especially I think it was last week or week before, we had another one of your YouLi lives, and some other tour operators were on the line, and everybody's like at the same place, like, what do we do? What do we do? So what I was thinking of doing is like partnering with my tour operators locally for right now, because I think that domestic travel is people are going to be kind of wary about going out of the country for a while. They will eventually do it, but I think people are going to be sort of like, oh God, I don't know. Because I'm in the US, so once the US does what it's going to do. We don't even know what we're doing. So then trying to travel to another country, you don't know what's going on in that other country. You don't know if you get to the airport and the borders are not closed, or something else happens and you're stuck, So I think a lot of people are going to be wanting more curated tours where they have a tour guide, from back in the day where they used to have people just go on a tour with a group and get on a bus and travel through Europe. I think people are going to want to do that now more because the OTAs and the issues with them, they got overwhelmed and they bought their stuff, their tickets. They're like, too bad. So sad. We don't have time for you. I think that now people are going to want to use tour operators better. They want to be with a person that they can go from place to place, knowing, instead of trying to figure out what should I do. Like, I'm from New York, even though I haven't been there in many, many years. So what would I do in New York? I've been gone for a long time. So just listening to Sarah Funky Tours, I'm like, wow, okay, what would I do in New York? I don't know, So trying to figure that out, it would be good to have a person take you on a walking tour, a foodie tour, some tour where you feel safe with a person, you're with a person and you feel safe because they know where they're going. You're not left to your own devices. So I think that that's where travel is going to go. Now, my niche is going to be like more people in my background, sort of like technical professionals, entrepreneurs. So that's why I figured I'm going to niche down, because a lot of technical people, we get on these projects and you're just driven mercilessly by schedules and staring at your computer till you get to the point, I don't even want to look at a computer anymore. I don't want to search for my own stuff online. I want somebody to do it for me, which would be me, but I want but people want a custom experience. They want to experience the culture, not just go someplace and try to wing it on your own and go to all those little touristy places, but you want a real live tour where you can experience the culture. And when you go to a place and you have a person that is well versed and knows all of the good spots to take you to, that can cater to a person's, something interesting, off the beaten path type things. I think that is the direction where travel is going to go. And that's why I'm trying to figure this out rather than do a virtual tour. I don't know. I mean, she's good because she's got a huge YouTube following now, right? But everything is changed now. So even down here in South Carolina, the governor just sent out a message telling everybody, issuing a stay-at-home order. So you can only go to work, you can only go to the store, you can only exercise. So yeah, you go outside and now people are like, because I've been working from home because I'm still working, but when I go to the store and I walk into the store and I didn't have a face mask on and I'm getting the stink eye, people are looking at me like, oh, what are you doing? So, out of peer pressure, I ordered some masks from Amazon. So I just carry one because, you just feel the peer pressure. So I understand that is, the reaction because people are afraid. So it's kind of hard to do that now, but I, go out, venture outside, and it also depends on your locale, to venture outside of where you are, maybe like Charleston. I'm in Charleston, South Carolina, the tour. I can't physically drive down there and try to do this, but maybe a tour operator who's located down there, they can do something. So I've been seeing them doing.
They work there. Is that
what they work down there. And I've seen a lot of them are family owned. So, that's the thing downtown is tourism. So I've been seeing, and I've been doing it myself. Like, it's nothing about travel, but just going live. I'm in my garden, or doing a nature walk with my kid, she's in college, but she's, she needs to take photographs because she's in college. And I'm like, oh, I'll go with you. We're just doing a nature walk, or I'm doing my garden or something, just for that know, like, and trust factor. But I think that adding to that with your tour operators so they could talk about their area what they do, maybe even share photos, or I'm sure everybody's got video of stuff that they've done, and you can leverage that in
Mhm. So
online.
would you think, Priscilla, like that you in the role of the sort of agent, would you kind of bring together a bunch of operators to
Yeah,
create
I would. Like a
and
package.
yeah.
Like instead of a package, like I would do a trip, I would put the whole package together for someone. In this, where we are right now, I don't know about charging for it, but just
Mhm.
so that we're not forgotten, do something like a summit, an online summit, and invite people, and they could bring the different tour operators together, talk about a destination, so people don't forget about you, you
Well, I
know?
mean, this is one of the things that you can do in a digital online environment that you can't do in real life. Like you could have a 3-hour tour that, you know, takes you to New York for a half an hour and takes you to Japan for a half an hour and like you could actually create something that could never happen in real life. Like, is that something people are kind of like, especially you, Priscilla, because you would be packaging those together, you could invite Sarah for the New York experience, and Harold could, you know, provide a sort of an Irish experience. Like, would that make sense, or is that
Yeah.
too out there?
No, it would. And then when we're able to travel, people are going to be ready to go. They're going to be like, wow, okay, well, I want that trip. I saw Sarah. I want to go to New York. I want her to take me on a tour
Mm,
because I saw what she does. I'm scared of New York, never been to New York. I'm afraid I'm going to get robbed. I want her to take me on this tour, you know,
Well,
or
that's
same with
exactly the
anybody.
benefit of, like, that is, I have to emphasize to all of you, the biggest benefit for like creating a social presence around your tours. Because here's an example. Most tour guides in New York for a private tour, it's like $200 to $300 for a private tour that's like 2 to 3 hours. I charge $600, and I can do like, on average I get 2 a week. So
mm,
that's the difference between not having an online presence where people know you and they want to book only you, and like having that.
yeah,
It's unbelievable. Like it's an unbelievable marketing tool, and I didn't even know it was a marketing tool until I stumbled upon this. So
yeah.
if you can, I really emphasize creating content around your city and while tourism's slow right now, because you'll build it up for the long term. And then when people are searching on YouTube, on Google, because those are both like huge search engines, your content will pop up first. It's the best marketing tool you'll ever get in your life. I'm telling you right now, it's astounding. I
We'll
can't
have
emphasize
to.
it enough.
So would you be willing to sort of teach people how to do that kind of thing? Will that be?
Sure, yeah. I have my whole production set up here, you know, like I got all my camera equipment in this little bag. It's so small, but yeah, essentially all you really need is a camera and your knowledge that you already have.
Yeah.
You know, like that's it. It's and then also, I mean, like posting on YouTube, but
Mhm.
it's like the learning curve in the beginning is a little bit tricky, just because you have to learn how to use a camera and you have to learn how to upload something on YouTube. But then after that, like just posting videos about your city.
Mhm.
Another person that did this is anyone from Prague here?
No.
No? There's a guy called Honest Guide Prague. He didn't do tours, but he has an entire YouTube channel dedicated to like traveling to Prague. And he wrote a book about Prague. And so he used that as like a marketing strategy, but he didn't initially like create the channel for that, because you have to, it's like a content sales strategy where you don't constantly sell, you don't hard sell, you just like provide value constantly. And then people will end up just wanting to only go on your tours. And then you're able to charge more than most tour companies because of that reason.
Yeah. And so, you know, this is kind of the new, you know, this is, you know, pushing more traditional travel operators and things like that into this new world, because maybe they, you know, they were 100% offline, and this is forcing them to be 100% online.
Yeah.
So I think that's actually something I've encountered, is that tourism, traditional tourism, is a very offline world.
Right. Yeah.
Right? And Harold,
Yeah.
I'd be curious, like, what your perspective is on that, because you've been in it for so long. Like, are you excited by this change in terms of, like, now finally?
Well, right now I'm not. It's not good because no one can travel, but yeah, like, I think there's more eyeballs on the internet than there's ever been before. So it's a huge opportunity to get your company out there, but in a way that's not salesy. You know, like, if if you start pushing your tours too much, people won't watch it. And, like, I think the reason I was successful initially is because I didn't have a tour company. You know, I literally just said, like, this is great, this is not. Like, and I was very honest with people. And then once people started binge watching all of my content, they kept asking me if I offer tours. And so then I started the tour company, and then I integrated the tours into the content.
Got it.
And this method is, like, I started my tour company literally not even a year ago, and we have like 6-figure sales within a year. And like, there was weeks we were doing a tour every single day. Wow. And this is just from YouTube. So I think it's an opportunity for all other tour company owners in other cities, because I got New York. No, but I'm kidding. I'm kidding. Everyone can learn.
So Harold, like, you know, being that you've sort of been in this for a long time, does this sound appealing as a tactic?
Well, I've actually moved online myself with the Kilura brand a while back, and what I've started on doing is deal with people remotely, and I'm using more or less this form. I'm just not using Zoom. I'm just using another software package. But what I noticed quite a while back, that everybody is so busy, nobody really has time. And the kind of people that traditionally came to me, we had a proper office, you know, you come in, you sit down, all that kind of stuff. People didn't want that anymore, I noticed. And we did a few bits of research, and we literally flat out asked people, are you comfortable sitting here? And as it turns out, some people were not. And they didn't want to talk about their expectations. And I give you an example. There was one guy, he wanted to go to Las Vegas and basically live out his dream of recreating Hangover. And he was saying he wanted to shoot the biggest guns and drive cars. And I was like, oh God, really? He must have seen it in my face, you know. It's like, whatever, you know, if this is what you want to do, I get this organized for you. But he was sort of semi-embarrassed that his biggest wish was to shoot a big gun, right? And so we thought about it, and more or less 2 years ago, we are doing what we're doing here right now with existing customers. They can book, they can go to our website, they book online on our calendar a day and a time that suits them, that's available. They can book 15 minutes, they can book half an hour, or they can book an hour. And if it's an existing customer who we know, is one thing, because they're in our CRM. If it's a new customer, they're kind of, oh, what's this and how is this working, etc. So there's a lot of explaining to do. But once we get over that, we have created a little quiz. It's about 20 questions, and we have about 7 avatars that we have created. I actually went back to college for that. In the Dublin Institute of Technology, the School of Marketing. And with my mentor there, we came up with 7 profiles. And that includes authentic explorers, free spirits, a number of others. And the questions that we have developed lead us to answers. So typically that takes about half an hour. 7:30 in the evening seems to be a good time for people. They have a glass of wine, a gin and tonic, whatever tickles their fancy, sitting at home in their sitting room. And we personalize everything. We ask loads of questions that help us understand if somebody who wants to go, say, for instance, to Vietnam and to Cambodia, if they would sit in a public transport bus without air conditioning. For some people, that's a big no-no. Never, no way would they do that. For others, they wouldn't even think twice about it because they know they get to see something at the end of that journey that will blow their mind away. So that is our starting point. And once we have completed that quiz, it takes us 48 hours to get all the bits and pieces together, and we are then presenting that customer with the results. So they get an email, and that's all free. It's a half an hour that we invest into the new customer to try and learn as much about them as we possibly can. And then it's up to them to say, oh, that's cool, I like that, I want to hear more. And what we then do is we ask them for a deposit to get the ball rolling. And then from there on in, we start developing and panning out the itinerary. And we've done some mad stuff that I would never have thought we would come up with. But these quizzes led us. I give you an example. We did a 25th wedding anniversary for a couple, and they wanted to go on an adventure. And they always had their life dream about being in a hot air balloon. So we came up with the idea that they would cross the Alps from Germany to Italy in a hot air balloon. And that is quite a serious operation. It's something you can't Google that easily. You need a lot of know-how. You need to have logistics. You need to know how to go about it, essentially. You have to be available at short notice. So long story short, we've created an itinerary for their 25th wedding anniversary to cross the Alps in a hot air balloon. And they've done it. And
I didn't even know that was possible.
Pardon?
I didn't even know that was physically possible.
Oh, yes, you can. Yes, you can. You have oxygen and the whole works, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
It's quite a story, yeah. And things like that, it's once you get to know the customer a little bit more, it's just, that scenario, I'm sitting at this side of my desk, there's the customer coming in, sitting down, there's another desk over there. And they're difficult. They don't know you. They have to open up. They don't want to ask questions, but somebody else got to think. So that's all got to do with that environment, which is why we've literally moved that online. They sit at home on their sofa in their sitting room, and they don't have to worry about anybody else listening in. It's a one-to-one. Usually it's quite funny when it's because I'm dealing mostly with couples. And so far, none of them are the same. It's either one or the other, but I haven't come across a couple that's the same, say, Authentic Explorer, for instance. And one has to leave the room so that they don't hear the answer, what is given, And it's fun. It's something they then look forward to receiving. So you get their attention again, and you can follow up. You can ask, what, am I mad? Did you enjoy it? Was it nice? Did I get it right?
Yeah.
Is our quiz something that you enjoyed? So it's the way forward, absolutely. I totally agree with Sarah, and I have to look you up, Sarah. Sarah Funky, you have to definitely do that.
Yeah, I'll put my YouTube link so you can see what I'm talking about.
Well, maybe you'll add that to your potential list of things when people contact you. What would you say is your persona that you target, Sarah? Like he was saying, like free spirits and adventurous explorer. Like, what would you say are the people that come to you?
So here's the weird part. I thought that since my main presence is on YouTube, it's all younger people, but that has not been the case at all. Okay. It has literally, on an average tour, one of my walking tours, the age range can be 65 years apart. It's crazy. Now, the most typical case, it's between like, I mean, it's really across the board, but I would say the average age is probably between 25 and 45. And I get a lot of, I don't know, it's like, well, I can tell you the countries for sure is UK, Canada, Australia, Germany, and the United States. Those are the 5 big countries.
Mhm.
But other than that, I mean, I've had people from all over the world, and I think it's because the YouTube is the 2nd largest search engine, owned by the 1st largest, which is Google. And so it's just people just typing like what to do in New York City. And so everyone types that when they're coming to New York. And so when your content appears first, you're going to get every type of person that watches it, and they'll binge watch all of it. I mean, I've literally had people like solo travelers, couples, families, like girl groups, the Prince of Nigeria and his is there actually a Prince of Nigeria? The son of the president of Nigeria, and his like bodyguards wanted to like go clubbing in New York, so we did a private tour. Like, I'm telling you, it's like I don't even know what the demographic is, but that's the power of this, is there is no demographic because it's just search engine optimization. That's it.
Well, and it's interesting, the sort of difference between the sort of, you know, if you're a destination, if you're an operator, then it's that, you know, it's the content that brings people together. It's like, if you care about New York, right? Whereas, you know, when you're an agent or like an organizer, like Harold, you have to figure out who these people are and match them up to the right ones, right? Yeah. And, you know, I think that's what's interesting, is that YouTube kind of becomes a little bit of the agent in this model, right? And because instead of finding you through an agent, they find you through YouTube. And the thing that's kind of interesting, and I think Priscilla, you were sort of saying like that sort of desire to be guided and things like that. I think, you know, if somebody wants to kind of, if they're afraid to travel, then they're looking for someone to give them that confidence. And Sarah, you give it through YouTube. You kind of like, you make them feel like they know who you are. And I think agents, you know, need to kind of do something similar, but instead of it being based on a destination, it's based on their expertise in being able to create something for a particular audience. So like Harold was saying, you know, you go all the way, like, you know, you create such unique experiences that, you know, they can be literally once in a lifetime, no one else is doing it kind of thing. And, you know, it's a question of like, you know, could Harold use, you know, actually, this is an interesting question. Do you have footage from that like hot air balloon ride that you could actually use to say to people like, you know, maybe this isn't your dream, but we'll figure out what your dream is and then we'll make it happen for you? Yeah. Like, are you allowed to use that content?
I don't actually have footage because in the hot air balloon, it's the pilot, it's the paying passengers, and that's it. Yeah. And there's only about 10 journeys every winter because the weather has to be right and it's safety first. So I don't actually have any live footage from that, but what I have is a client testimonial where they literally gave feedback and talked about how that was and how they experienced and how it was for them. And I've a lot of those, because was my line of thinking. Of course, YouTube and video would be, I suppose, better to have sort of a live action kind of movie style thing. Say if it's exciting when you are in a hot air balloon and you're crossing the Alps, but I have a variety of customers that travel with us for different reasons. Say I give you shall we say, a sad example. One girl, Sarah, she was a customer of mine. She came to me 2 years ago, and she was diagnosed with stage 4 ovary cancer back then. And she hadn't traveled anywhere because she was literally afraid of her own shadow. And she went to school, she went to college, started a job, was going really well, but she hadn't been anywhere, you know. And when she had her operation, then she had chemo, and all of a sudden the whole "what am I afraid of" kind of dawned on her. And she said, well, if I do nothing else, I want to travel, I want to see the world. And together we created a trip to California, and it was her first time on a plane. And I just couldn't get over that somebody hadn't been traveling before, because for me that's like second nature, and I really miss it if I can't go anywhere. And she also wrote a testimonial, a story of where she went and what she did. And I actually put it up on the website, and she has since passed away in January this year. So that was a really sad story, but I actually asked the family then afterwards if they want me to take down that story of our website, or if it's okay to leave it there as an inspiration for others to see that time is one of those assets that we are all short of. And they told me, look, leave it there. We are happy for it to be on your website. And unless that changes, it can stay there forever. As far as they're concerned, it's part of her digital footprint. So there is so many people, and everybody's different. And what's good for one person is bad for the other, and some people agree and disagree. And one thing I've learned a long time ago, actually not so long, I have to correct myself. It was only last year when I caught myself, I have to stop judging, because it doesn't help me in any way, shape or form if I judge something. Oh, this is good, this is bad, this is whatever. And it actually gives me, peace. It's like, oh, yeah, whatever. Yeah, if that works for them, you know, who am I to judge? That's what I've learned from that. So there's so many different, everybody's different. This is what I'm saying.
Yeah, and what you were saying as well about, not being afraid anymore when you face death. Sometimes it actually frees you from fear. And that's one of my hopes. So my parents passed away about 10 years ago, and that really sparked my kind of like, just going to get out there, life is short kind of thing. And so I'm wondering if there will be a sort of global sense of like, oh, I survived, and that will actually
something in common.
Yeah, we'll all just sort of like really want to make the most of this time, because we got really close to this really scary moment, and I think I'm kind of optimistic. That's sort of my positive, is I think it'll really push people out of their comfort zones on the other side. So that's my hope that I'm putting out into the world. I wanted to thank you guys. I'm sort of conscious of time. This was really great to hear everybody's stories, and I really appreciate the time. And I love having people all over the world sharing their perspectives. And again, that's what I believe the power of travel is to bring people together and remind us that we have a lot in common, and hopefully inspire each other. So thank you guys for joining, and we'll be doing this weekly for a while. And if anyone is interested in more details about our software and what we can do, please feel free to book in, and we do a free consult to kind of explain in more detail. So please be in touch, and please talk to each other and make new partnerships and dream.
Nice to meet you all.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.